We're raising a generation more anxious and depressed than ever before, and homework is part of that problem. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what homework was actually meant to do? For centuries, homework has been considered an essential part of our education system, and for good reason. It's meant to encourage self-directed learning, deepen our understanding, and teach time management. But is our modern education system actually delivering on that promise? Out of the 100 students, only one finds homework manageable. The other 99, they find it overwhelmingly stressful. The biggest complaint is the sheer volume of homework they're expected to complete. Now, as a parent, you might be tempted to think your child is just being lazy, that they need to work harder in order to perform well in their studies. But if you look at the statistics, countries that assign the least homework actually have higher test scores than those that assign the most. So if you're not even improving learning, then what's the point? Late night study sessions take a serious toll on students' health. We might literally be torturing kids for no academic benefit whatsoever. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Arif Khan, a pediatric neurologist in Dubai and founder of Neuropedia, the region's first comprehensive Pediatric Neuroscience Center. Today's topic hits close to home. Back when I was a medical student, I pulled my fair share of all-nighters. I know exactly what late-night studying feels like. But I can say with confidence, what today's kids are going through isn't normal. It's severely damaging their brains. In this video, we are going to break this down into 3 parts. First, we'll look at just how massive this homework stress problem really is, because most people don't realize the scale of what's happening. Second, we'll dive into what this chronic stress is doing to kids' physical and mental health. Spoiler, it's pretty scary. And the third, we'll explore practical strategies that students, parents, and educators can actually implement to make this situation better. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start with just how massive this problem actually is, because the numbers are genuinely shocking. 75% of high school students and 50% of middle schoolers in the US report feeling constant stress over homework. More than half say homework is their primary source of stress. Not tests, not grades, not college applications, but just homework. And when you think about it, that makes sense, because homework is the thing that follows you home every single day. It invades your personal space, it takes over your evenings and your weekends. Students are averaging 17.5 hours per week of homework. That's basically a part-time job that you can't quit, don't get paid for, and are constantly told is for your own good. And they are getting about 3 times the recommended amount. Research suggests that high schoolers should be capped at about 2.5 hours per night, but most are pushing well past the 3-hour mark. Even kindergartners, we're talking about 5-year-olds here, are averaging 25 minutes per night, when experts recommend 0 homework at that age. Now, here's the thing that really gets me really mad. Time is just the tip of the iceberg. What this chronic stress actually does to kids' health is where it gets really, really scary. Over 80% of students report stress-related physical symptoms like headaches, stomach problems, back pain, and exhaustion. But the big one that really concerns me, as someone who spent years researching productivity and well-being, is sleep. The average student is getting just 5 hours of sleep per night. Their brains need 8 to 10 hours. Sleep deprivation absolutely wrecks concentration, immunity, mood, and memory formation. I pulled all-nighters in medical schools, as I said earlier, and I felt the impact. But now imagine kids going through that chronically while their brains are still developing. Up to 90% of teenagers aren't getting enough sleep. We literally have a teenage sleep deprivation epidemic on our hands. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about the science of sleep and why it's so crucial for learning and well-being, I did an amazing podcast with one of the top sleep consultants. I'll put the link somewhere here on the screen. Coming back. But the consequences don't stop at physical health. 44% of college students report symptoms of depression. 41% report anxiety. And over half have suicidal thoughts. Now, homework isn't the only cause of this mental health crisis, obviously. But when you have got chronic stress starting in kindergarten and lasting for 12 years, it's not hard to see the connection. The World Health Organization reports that 1 in 7 kids between 10 and 19 experience a mental disorder, mostly depression or anxiety. And stress levels among students have risen 30% in the last 3 decades. We're literally raising a more anxious, more depressed generation than the one before. But here's the part that nobody really talks about. This doesn't just affect the kids. it's systemically destroying family relationships. Nearly half of parents find homework too challenging to help with. Imagine this, your child comes home exhausted from a full day of school, facing 3+ hours of assignments. You want to help, but the math is completely different from how you learned it when you were at school. The science projects need materials you don't have. The essays are on books you've never read. So everyone gets frustrated. The kid cries because they are overwhelmed. Parents feel helpless because they can't provide the support their child needs. Dinner gets cold because homework takes priority. And homework becomes this constant source of family conflict rather than being a family connection. Now, kids report dropping extracurriculars, activities, hobbies, and even time with friends just to keep up with their homework load. So we are not just stressing kids out, we are stealing their childhood. We are preventing them from developing into well-rounded human beings. Now, the irony here is that homework is supposed to teach responsibility and time management skills. But when the workload makes a balanced life literally impossible, kids learn stress, burnout, and sacrifice instead of the things they were actually trying to teach them. Now, all this sacrifice and stress would almost be understandable if homework actually worked from an academic standpoint. But here's the thing, it doesn't. Countries like Denmark and Czech Republic, which assign the least homework, consistently outperform countries like Iran and Thailand, which assign the most homework. A comprehensive study of 28,000 high school seniors conducted earlier on concluded that homework's effectiveness is, and I quote, marginal or perhaps even counterproductive. It's the classic trap of being busy versus being productive, which is something I talk about a lot in this channel. Beyond 2 hours a night, learning effectiveness completely flatlines. And let's be honest, a lot of homework is just busy work anyway. And we can't ignore the inequality aspect of this. Homework assumes that every student has access to a quiet study space and also reliable internet and a laptop or computer, and of course, parents' help. Many families don't have those resources, so homework just widens the achievement gap rather than closing it. So let's sum this up. We are stressing kids out, we are damaging their physical and mental health, we are straining family relationships, and we are widening educational inequality, all with little to no academic benefit. That seems like a pretty broken system to me. But here's the good news, it doesn't have to be this way. There are evidence-based strategies that can help with this homework stress situation. For parents who might be watching this, here are some things you can do. Ask better questions instead of hovering and trying to provide answers. Ask what part is confusing you, or what do you think the next step should be. This develops their problem-solving skills rather than creating dependency. Protect their sleep. Kids need 8 to 10 hours of sleep minimum, and this is non-negotiable for their physical and mental health. Communicate with teachers. If assignments are consistently taking way longer than they should, teachers need that feedback. Now, most teachers genuinely care about their students and want to adjust if something isn't working. And actually, change is starting to happen in the education world. Some schools are testing no homework weekends, flexible deadlines, and more personalized assignments. Countries like China and Singapore have now implemented limits on homework for younger grades. For students who are watching this, here are some practical strategies you can implement literally starting today. Strategy number 1, the Pomodoro technique. Work in 25-minute focus bursts followed by a 5-minute break. Now, this prevents mental fatigue and actually makes you more productive in less time. Strategy number 2, the homework triad system. Not all assignments are created equal. Prioritize by deadlines and importance. Ask yourself what actually needs to be done perfectly and what just needs to be done. This is about working smarter, not harder. Strategy number 3, set a homework curfew. Stop by 9 p.m. to protect your sleep. Look, I'm not saying that homework is inherently evil or that students shouldn't have any work to do outside of school. But when 99% of students are stressed, when kids are doing triple the recommended amount, when families are breaking under the pressure, and when the academic benefits are questionable at best, maybe it's time to ask ourselves, what are we really teaching kids? Because right now it seems like we are teaching them that chronic stress, sleep deprivation, and burnout are just normal parts of life. And as someone who spent years helping people be more productive without burning out, I can tell you that this is not a sustainable way to live or learn. If you're a student watching this, know that your stress is real and valid. You're not weak for struggling with homework overload. If you are a parent, maybe it's time to have some conversations with your child's school about workload and stress. And if you're an educator, I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts in these comments about how we can make this better. What do you think? Have you experienced homework stress in your life, either as a student or as a parent? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, then definitely hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more evidence-based strategies and research coming your way. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully in the next one. Bye-bye.